Welcome back to Extraordinary Women TV. I'm your host, Shannon Skinner, and I'm joined by Lori Stahlbrand, who is the president and founder of Local Food Plus. Later in the segment, before we take a break, I'll have my regular Good to Know Minute when I ask my guests for their top tip on creating a successful life. You'll hear Lori's. And of course, this is our special Earth Day show. This is really great. I'm so grateful that you're here, Lori.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Now, you are the founder and president of Local Food Plus, which is a nonprofit organization working to build a local sustainable food system.
That's right.
Before launching LFP, you were a CBC journalist and broadcaster, a food policy consultant, university teacher and author, and you're based in Toronto.
All right.
Wow. Now, of course, I know you back from your CBC days, and it was really great when I actually got you on the phone, and when I spoke to you, I thought, oh my God, I recognize the voice. I remember your voice.
Yeah, I was there. I was there for about 15 years, and I worked all over the country and did morning shows, in Edmonton, and back up for Andy Barry here in Toronto, and worked all over the place. So I guess, and then I did the national news for a long time. So I guess a lot of people remember me from that.
What did you love about being a broadcaster?
Well, one of the exciting things was, particularly as an interviewer, that you got a chance to talk to so many interesting people every day. And whatever was topical in the news, you'd get a chance to speak to that person. So that was a really exciting part of it. One of the things I really enjoyed was doing documentary work. And that, in fact, was where my passion for environmental issues and broadcasting came together, because I had a chance to do a lot of documentary work around environmental issues and around food issues. And that's wonderful. You get out into the field, you get to talk to people, you get to collect sound about what's going on in their lives and then put it together. It's very creative.
Now, what sparked you then initially to want to become interested in sort of local food economy, which is really what the organization is focused on?
Yeah, I've been interested in food issues all my life. I come from a family, my parents were what you would have called health food nuts back in the 1950s and 60s, and so I always ate a little differently than most people, and I'm very grateful to my parents for it. I think I learned a lot about what is healthy food, and as I became more interested in environmental issues, I started to realize that food is really the linchpin for a new green economy. We have about a quarter of all our jobs are connected to the food system. About a third of all greenhouse gases are connected to the food system. It's the major employer in this province right now. It's actually, now that we've had so many jobs lost in the auto industry, it actually is the major employer in Ontario. So it's really massive and really important. And the thing that's exciting about it is that we all eat every day, and the choices that we make every day of what we're going to eat, how it's produced, where it's from, can actually have a really big impact on the planet and on our communities, as well as on our own individual health. So it's a place where individual action can really start to come together and make collective action and start to make really positive change in the world. So that really excited me, and that was a key to it. So I guess I started off by writing a book back in '99 with my husband Wayne Roberts and a colleague Rod McRae, called Real Food for a Change. And in that book we identified that food not only had to be produced with fewer pesticides, or no pesticides if possible, in an ecological way, and treating workers fairly, but it also needed to be much more localized. Our food system, we needed to get away from bringing food in from such huge distances. And in a way, everything that's come since comes out of that experience of writing that book and the thinking that went on behind that book.
So how did actually the organization, though, Local Food Plus, how did it originate? How did it come to be?
It started as a part of my PhD thesis, which I never ended up completing. This was actually going to be my thesis, and after about a year in the program, I decided, rather than working on a thesis, what I wanted to do was get out there and see if I could actually get this organization off the ground. And a fantastic organization in Toronto, Foodshare, incubated the project, gave me a home, and gave me a charitable number to start to work as a project of Foodshare, and to be able to raise the first money from foundations for getting it all off the ground, and it's taken off from there. So now we're a charity in our own right, and we've been working for 5 years now. We do a certification for farmers and processors that not just is about local, but also about sustainable. And we're trying to create this new term, local sustainable food, where because I honestly believe that local food without the sustainability factor it can be pesticide intensive. It doesn't necessarily mean that workers are treated properly. You know, I'm glad that it's contributing to the local economy, but it has to be more than just local. And at the same time, sustainably produced food that's produced with from far away and then transported here is not really ultimately sustainable either. So coming together, I think you've really got the perfect match, local, sustainable.
Well, how would you actually define local?
We did it very pragmatically. We thought, you know, a lot of people know about the 100-mile diet, but 100 miles is really more of a gimmick than a reality. Our food system is broader than 100 miles. So we thought, can we do it within the boundaries of our province, of the province of Ontario? And that's what we set as our boundary. And if you live, you know, in Ottawa, where you're right across the river from Quebec, part of our certification includes that you can buy products within a couple of 100 kilometers of the Quebec Ontario border as well. But basically we're trying to make it food produced by Ontarians for Ontarians. That's really what's behind it. And as we start to expand into other provinces, the same thing. So food produced in BC for the people of BC, in Quebec for the people of Quebec, and so on.
And so then what would you actually mean by being sustainable? Of course, sustainable is a term used quite a bit out there in the industry, but what do you mean with your organization?
We have a very specific definition for sustainable, and it includes a number of parts. First of all, that the production system has to be sustainable. In other words, it has to work with natural processes, you know, use beneficial insects and provide habitat for native species that can help to make the farm healthier, reducing pesticides or eliminating them, and conserving soil and water. So that's part of it. The next bit is production of the workers, the worker welfare, so fair and safe working conditions for farm workers, humane treatment of farm animals, protecting native habitat, and finally helping farmers and processors to reduce their carbon footprint through everything from making sure that their machinery is tuned up and they're using compact fluorescent light bulbs, all the way to some of our farms are right off the grid and are using solar or wind power, that kind of thing. So we have a points-based system that includes points for all of those areas, and farmers and processors who go through the certification have to achieve 75% or better, and then we call that a certified local sustainable farmer or processor.
So then what is the process? I mean, take me through the process.
Well, you were talking to Adria a little bit earlier, and she was talking about that's right, the idea of having independent third-party certification, and that's what we are. We do an independent third-party certification. So we hire inspectors who are trained as organic inspectors, and then we put them through additional training, and they actually go out to the farms and they go through the inspection process, and then they write a report. That report goes to an external reviewer. The external reviewer makes sure that it's all handled properly, and then it's recommended to us if the farm has passed the inspection. Then we start into the next phase of what we do, and I think this is what makes Local Food Plus exciting, and that is that we then start to create partnerships between the farmers and processors and all sorts of organizations, so restaurants and retailers and caterers, but also universities and colleges and municipalities and everywhere where food is prepared. Basically, we help them to connect up with farmers and source local sustainable food.
Well, thank you, Lori. You know, it's time for a break, and that means this is my Good to Know Minute, and I know that you have a great tip for my audience on creating a successful life.
Well, I would say the most important thing is to really find a passion and go for it, because the passion will carry you through to work hard, and it will also carry you through the inevitable low moments, because there always are those low moments, and counterbalancing that passion with personal passion. So for me, it's having a strong marriage. It's making sure I'm there for my kids. I really don't want to look back and regret that I missed key moments in their lives. I'm part of a choir, I meditate, I'm a yoga instructor. Those things really balance. And as a little tribute to my parents, this is a truism, but I can't tell you how important it is eating right to keep your energy up and to feel good. It sounds like such a simplistic thing, but it makes a huge difference.
Well, thank you so much. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, more with Lori Stahlbrand, founder and president of Local Food Plus. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Extraordinary Women TV. I'm your host, Shannon Skinner, and I'm speaking to Lori Stahlbrand with Local Food Plus about local food economies, all in celebration of the upcoming Earth Day. Now, farmers, are farmers a dying breed?
Well, the average age of farmers now in Canada is about 56, and we have very few young farmers actually going into farming. We're trying to turn that around. There are a lot of good organizations out there trying to turn that around, because frankly, farmers can't make a decent living, most of them. We pay too little for our food. Our food is the cheapest food in the entire world here in Canada.
Wow.
And so farmers actually end up with so little of that dollar, of that food dollar, that most of them are saying it's not really worth it. So that's really crucial. We have to keep our farmland for future generations so that we have our own food security here, right here in Ontario. And in order to do that, we have to keep farmers on the land and keep them making a decent living. That's why they'll stay, if they can make a decent living and have a good quality of life. So I hope they're not a dying breed.
Well, now, we're talking a little bit about Earth Day. Well, what are you going to do to celebrate Earth Day?
I'm just recovering from the Green Living Show. We had a gigantic booth at the Green Living Show, so that was our early celebration. We had a farmers market there, and it was really exciting, lots of fun. So that was our big celebration of Earth Week in general.
And you did a fashion show?
I did a fashion show, yes, of eco-fashions with Adria. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, we had a really good time. But I would say, what I do and what I hope I can encourage everyone to do is I try to, not just on Earth Day, but every day, search out local sustainable food products and eat local sustainable food and support our own farmers right here in Ontario as much as possible. And that's such a joyous way to celebrate Earth Day, is have a fantastic meal with friends of local Ontario products. And there's lots out them right now. I mean, people often think, well, it's April, what the heck is out there at this time of year? But you'd be surprised at the greenhouse vegetables and the meats and eggs and dairy products. There's lots of things out there to be able to produce a really lovely meal any time of year.
Now, how can individuals then, what can they do to be part of this local sustainable food movement?
Well, one of the things we ask people to do is to take a pledge. Take a pledge to shift $10 a week, not $10 extra, just shift $10 a week from imported conventional food to local sustainable food. And I think we had up the logo earlier on the screen. Look for that logo, that certification seal, and we've calculated that if 10,000 people in Ontario were to take that pledge, in 1 year it would be the equivalent in reducing greenhouse gases of taking 1,000 cars off the road. And it would pump enough new money into the local economy to create 100 new jobs. So imagine, we have millions of people in this province. And we have, how many, 35 million people across Canada? If we could start shifting as much as possible of their eating towards local sustainable, $10 a week for everybody, what an enormous difference it could make for our economy and for our health, for our planet. It would be really fantastic to see. So that's what I encourage everyone to do for Earth Day.
We were chatting about strawberries, this whole issue of redundant trade. Mm-hmm. And I was really quite surprised. I didn't realize that California was such a big grower of strawberries.
Oh, massive, huge grower of strawberries. And unfortunately, they're not grown very sustainably because California is essentially a desert. So they're having to drain aquifers to irrigate those strawberries. And most of those strawberries are produced using many lethal chemicals. And they can undercut because the true cost to the environment of using up that water and using those pesticides and transporting that food all that distance across the continent is not in the price of those strawberries. So as a result, when our farmers produce the wonderful strawberries we can produce right here in Ontario, they can't meet the price of California most of the time. So it's a real pity. We really need to be enjoying our own food at the time of year when we produce it. And that makes it even more special too. Who wants a strawberry in January? The time to eat strawberries is in June and July when they are really wonderful and flavorful and from just down the road.
So, perhaps paying a little bit more closer attention to where your food comes from.
Absolutely.
As a first step.
And that's what our certification seal helps with, because when you see that seal, it says Certified Local Sustainable Ontario, you know that food is from Ontario and that it's been certified by an independent third party for being environmentally and socially sustainable.
Maybe we can just see that seal one more time, Lou and Dan. There we go, just so people know exactly what to look for.
That's right. And if you're in a restaurant or retail outlet, we have another one that says, I'm committed to certified local sustainable food and farming. And that's a way that you can tell that this is one of our partners.
Well, we only have a couple minutes left. Is there anything, Lori, that you would like to add that we have not touched on?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so much to talk about with our food system. It's such an important part of everybody's lives. And, to reiterate that when people talk about issues like global warming, some of the big issues that we're all worried about, it often feels as if they're beyond any one individual effort. They're so big, we think it can only change if there's big changes in society, and it can be a bit overwhelming for people. But I like to get the message across to people that because we all eat every day and we all make choices 3 times a day, those choices can really start to have an impact. And so we're not powerless. There's a lot of power in one individual, and even more when we all join together to start to make positive change. And there's no better way to do it than through having wonderful meals with friends.
Now, Lori, how can people find out more information about you and your organization?
We're at localfoodplus.ca, and we also have Facebook at Local Food Plus. We're Twittering, and we've got a new YouTube channel which is just starting up, Local Food Plus TV. So there's lots of ways to reach us, and we'd love to have people sign the pledge, support our organization, come out to our events, and get involved in any way you can in starting to shift to a more local and sustainable food system.
Well, thanks for being here today. It's been very inspiring, and it was a pleasure to have the opportunity to meet you in person.
Thank you. My pleasure, too.
Good luck.
Thank you.